News 46 is brought to you by
William H. Jackson Injury Attorneys. Injured? Get Bill and Robin, your local injury attorneys.
All right, let's join Eunette Gentry to see what's happening in our local courts.
And this week's court report, a guilty plea is entered by the local man who was arrested and charged with sexual assault upon a child under 14 and lewdness with a child under 14 years of age. Willard Overton entered said plea in district court during his recent calendar call. During that proceeding, the court notes a guilty plea agreement has been reached. Then the court canvassed Overton, outlines the guilty plea agreement for the record, and the possible sentence Overton is facing. The defendant so acknowledges the terms and enters a plea of guilty, waiving his constitutional rights to trial and appellate rights. The court accepts Overton's guilty plea and set the matter for sentencing on March 4th, 2019. Then Overton was remanded back to the custody of the Nye County Detention Center. The Pahrump man facing attempted murder, battery, and other related charges connected to a shooting in Pahrump last 4th of July that left a man injured appears in court Friday for a calendar call and drug testing. During that proceeding, Shawndarro Marcel Thomas appeared while in custody. The court calls the matter and addresses the defendant as to how he tested during that calendar call. Thomas then admits that he would test for marijuana. Then Thomas states that he was not addressed regarding the conditions of his OR release. The court then concurs and outlines the OR release conditions for Thomas, and the defendant admits to random drug testing for drug court. Additionally, new trial dates for Thomas have been set for next year on April 15th through 19th and 22nd through 26th, with a calendar call set for March 22nd, 2019. In district court, Thomas is facing the formal charges of attempted murder with a deadly weapon, battery with a deadly weapon causing substantial bodily harm, 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, and robbery. The California woman arrested back in 2016 after stabbing her roommate at a residence in the 400 block of Comstock Street is finally sentenced to 6 to 15 years for the charge of battery with a deadly weapon causing substantial bodily harm. During Sarah Bea Gensaw's sentencing hearing, Parole and Probation notes credit for time served is 494 days. Then the court outlines the case history and reviews the sentencing recommendations of the Division of Parole and Probation set forth in the PSI report. Gensaw's defense attorney, Brent Percival, asks for an imposed underlying sentence with probation with drug, alcohol, and mental health treatment. The state argues and recommends 72 to 180 months and to deny probation. Then Gensaw addresses the court herself and argues against the state. Finally, the court sentences Gensaw to a total of $178 in fines and fees and 72 to 180 months in D.C. with 494 days credit for time served. This has been your court report. I'm Eunette Gentry for News 46.
Thanks so much, Eunette. Well, Angela Miles brings us today's business news.
Tapping our news, just putting the election behind us could be good for the stock market. Stephen McBride tells MarketWatch, after every midterm election since 1946, stocks have rallied on average 17% in the year after the election, and going into the election, the stock market tends to turn in a poor performance. Wall Street is not a fan of uncertainty, which can cause some money to hit the sidelines until Election Day has passed. Apple investors are pulling money out of that stock for a brief time. Shares fell below $200 yesterday. Reports surface that Apple is apparently getting low demand for its iPhone XR and reportedly has told Foxconn and Pegatron to stop preparing to build a smartphone. The iPhone XR was just released last month. And the CEO of GE, John Flannery, walks away with an exit package of $4.2 million, while the new CEO, Larry Culp, has purchased 2.2 million shares of General Electric.
Thanks, Angela, and stay tuned to News 46. We have much more local news for you just ahead.